Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining. This is the press conference for the big one. Thank you so much for joining. I'm just going to give people a couple of minutes to arrive. Welcome, everyone joining now. This is the press conference for the big one. Thank you so much for coming along. Just waiting a moment while a few more people arrive. Okay, I'm just going to give it one more minute. I hope you're all sitting comfortably and have cups of tea and things that are ready. This is the press conference for the big one. Thank you so much for coming along. So today, you will be hearing from spokespeople from Extinction Rebellion, Global Justice Now, Don't Pay UK, and the Public and Commercial Services Union, the PCS Union. So at this press conference for the big one, we'll be taking around 20 minutes, after which we will open up the floor and you can each ask your questions. Please do mute yourselves throughout the press conference until the Q&A at the end, and we won't be responding in the chat. So please save your questions until the very end. The press conference is starting.
The clock is ticking for the UK government. At the start of this year, Extinction Rebellion said, "We quit." The movement paused their tactic of public disruption and switched to only disrupting the pillars of power. So we targeted the justice system, the finance system, the fossil fuel industry, and the media. We know that the numerous crises we are facing, so the climate and ecological emergency, but also the cost of living crisis, rising inequality, racism, and polarization are all connected. So we have reached out to other groups and started working towards a larger, stronger, more diverse movement, united in our distrust of the government and its ability to act. So now we turn our focus back to the government. The big one is their final opportunity to show they are willing and able to act with the urgency needed to tackle these crises. This time, Extinction Rebellion is not alone. We stand united with over 200 different supporting organizations and over 100 community groups, representing millions of people. Today, acting alongside new allies, we presented two demands to the government. The demands were delivered in person by 3 generations of the same family.
I'm a grandparent. I'm 72 years old, and in my lifetime, I've seen governments make and break promises time after time.
Parents like me are increasingly concerned about the huge crisis our government are neglecting.
Those in power have knowingly wasted decades while the climate and ecological crisis deepens and worsens.
Hunger, poverty, inequality, racism. The government is failing in its duty to protect us, and we're calling for this to end now. From the 21st of April for 4 days, tens of thousands of people will gather here to protest against the government's neglect.
The big one will be attended by trades unions, NGOs, protest groups, ethical groups, and more.
The first demand is as follows. We must end all new licenses, approvals, and funding for fossil fuel projects as we begin a transition to a fair society centred on reparatory justice for all life on Earth. The second demand is as follows. The UK government must create emergency citizens' assemblies to lead on fair, long-term solutions to the most urgent issues of our time. Our demands come from a growing number of groups representing millions of people.
So we're putting the government on warning. If it does not respond by 5 p.m. on Monday the 24th of April, we will have no other choice but to call on all those attending at the big one to step up their efforts from the end of April onwards. So please pass on this message to the Prime Minister and the government.
So already 35 organisations have signed up to these demands, these communal collective demands, including Greenpeace and War on Want. From today, we are putting the government on notice. They have 7 days to agree to enter negotiations around these 2 demands, or we will step up our campaigns in new and inventive ways, working towards a coalition unprecedented in size. So let's talk about why Extinction Rebellion is ready to step it up if the government fails to respond. Let's explore how this new climate and social justice alliance came into being and what the big one is really about. So of course it starts with the science, or at least the government's criminally negligent response to the science. And how far back do we want to go? In 1957, the first scientists briefed the US Congress on the climate crisis, which became global knowledge very soon after that. In 1983, a major carbon dioxide assessment report did much the same. And in 1992, in Rio, our government, alongside with other world governments, promised to look at alternative sources of energy to replace the use of fossil fuels, which they already understood then to be linked to global climate change. And I'm sure we all remember in 2015 in Paris, the world leaders pledged to keep global warming below 1.5. And in 2019, our very own parliament declared a climate emergency. And yet, we saw at COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh, sponsored and attended by some of the biggest names in the fossil fuel industry, the death of 1.5 degrees. When we have had more than half a century to act and hardly any action has been taken, this is completely unacceptable. Our ecosystems we depend on for our survival are vanishing quicker than in any of the 5 mass extinctions we have seen in the past. Our government continues to invest in fossil fuels, putting us on course for over 3 degrees of global warming, which would be catastrophic and means the planet will be uninhabitable for billions of people and other non-human species. They are supporting new oil and gas drilling projects in the North Sea. And of course, you've all seen their absolutely laughable net zero strategy, which is depending on things like carbon capture and storage, which we know is not yet scalable. It is clear that our government is not protecting the lives of the people they were elected to serve. It is clear the government is not interested in protecting and restoring our ecosystems. This is going to affect everyone. So we need to start talking to everyone. The many other groups and movements recognizing the UK government is failing, because together we believe we can all set up our campaigns, step up our campaigns to force the government to act and act now. And since reaching out, we've come back stronger than ever with unions, NGOs, ethical companies, and a whole host of environmental groups, all united in our call for political change and action to protect all life on Earth. And that is really what the big one is about. Yes, it will be a period of connecting and music and dance, but also it is a full day coming together of over 200 groups with memberships totaling millions of people in this country and globally to decide what more radical action would look like for them. So across these 4 days, everyone will deliberate on what comes next. if the government refuses this major opportunity to engage with our demands. Because we all agree the clock is ticking for every human and non-human alive today, and none of us should and will sit quietly while time runs out until we face the very worst mass suffering imaginable. We must unite to survive. So we are coming to Westminster because that's where the power lies. And the government has until 5 p.m. on Monday, the 24th of April, to agree to enter negotiations about the two collective demands that we have presented to them today. They've had decades to do something. Time is up. If we don't get a response, at 10 a.m. on Tuesday, 25th of April, Extinction Rebellion will build an unprecedented coalition, stepping up our campaigns in the weeks and months ahead along 3 pathways. That is to picket, to stand in solidarity with the strikers, to organize locally, and to disobey. This is the work we have to do, and this time we won't be alone. Here comes everyone. I'll pass on to Nick Dearden from Global Justice Now.
Thanks very much. Look, the scale of the crisis we're facing is like nothing we've ever seen before. And that means for a group like ours, we can't just do nothing. Every day we wait to take proper action makes the problem worse, means more lives and livelihoods will be lost. And of course, it will also be more expensive. And it gets worse because the British government is taking exactly the wrong action. When it authorises new oil fields, when it opens new coal mines, when it signs new trade deals, which make climate change harder to tackle. There are an unprecedented number of groups that now get this. There are an unprecedented number of people that want to take action, which is why this weekend we are joining them. And hopefully we will see the biggest coalition of organisations and campaigners that we've seen outside Parliament for quite some time to demand change. We want the big one to be a springboard for a broader movement which can bring about long-term change in the way our society works. For a group like Global Justice Now, one of the problems that Extinction Rebellion is pointing out is the concentration of political power. We have a political elite which is in hock to vested interests, which refuses to prioritise our future. And globally, we have a similar situation where huge big businesses, whether they be the fossil fuel industry or food corporations or the big banks, have monopolised our energy system, our food system, and they're making a killing, even during a cost of living crisis, while also destroying our planet. We've got to stop them. We've got to reclaim control of our economy and make it work in the interests of all of us. And that means ensuring that those who've caused climate change pay to deal with the damage they've done, as well as stopping doing any more damage. That means, for example, massively taxing the fossil fuel giants who are profiteering from the current crisis. It means rewriting the rules of the international economy to stop putting the profits of big business ahead of lives. And our message for the government this weekend is stop protecting the vested interests, stop protecting the monopolies, and start putting the lives of people here and around the world first. Of course, we get that not a single protest is going to sort out all of these problems. A single event isn't going to change the world. It takes a lot of hard work and a lot of different tactics. But what we're doing here is bringing together as many people as possible so that we can build trust, we can make people feel that their voice counts, we can empower people to make the change that we need to happen. That's how change happens. All progressive change in history, from votes for women and ordinary folk to the battle against slavery, has come about in this way. This battle is no less important. It's the fight of our generation. And what you're going to see this weekend is one moment, hopefully a formational moment in that process. And there will be much, much more to come. And with that, I'd like to pass over to Joe Davies of Don't Pay UK.
Hi there, thank you very much, Nick. Yeah, so Don't Pay UK started as a collection of friends and family members gathering together to try and figure out a solution to the rise in energy prices. And in the spirit of that collaboration between friends, family, and people in solidarity, we have chosen to come to the big one. We're honored to come to the big one and be a part of such a large collaborative effort, especially one that tackles one of the biggest problems, if not the biggest problem of our time, which is unfettered climate change. We have been for a long time now petitioning the government to try and lower the energy prices that have been soaring ever since the war in Ukraine began. Let's make one thing fundamentally clear. This is war profiteering. This is groups of people that are taking a horrible humanitarian crisis and turning it into something to line their pockets. And we don't agree with this. And I can absolutely assuredly say that not only Don't Pay UK don't agree with this, but that other members of this coalition also don't agree with it. Our message for the government is clear. We need to return the energy pricing to the April 2021 cap. We need to stop the installation of prepayment meters indefinitely. A slight ban on them for a few months is not good enough. And we also need to make sure that no one has to choose between heating or eating every single autumn or winter, especially as it gets colder and especially as the climate becomes more and more unpredictable. We need solidarity more than ever, and so gathering is so important as part of this group. And the fact that we've got tens of thousands of people coming along to join together to picket where we can and when we can is hugely important. We want to empower people to not just do civil disobedience, but also to come together and discuss things that perhaps they wouldn't be able to in their groups at home, with people that have difference of opinions in how to approach things, different viewpoints, and certainly different methods to achieve their goals. I really welcome the difference of opinion and the different sort of modalities of attacking a government that seems to be content with dragging its feet on all these issues. And so I'm very excited, and I can speak on behalf of the entirety of Don't Pay UK and the people, 260,000 people and counting so far that have signed up to the campaign, that we are coming to the big one. And from that, I will introduce Austin Harney from the Public and Commercial Services Union.
Morning, everybody. Yeah, I'm Austin Harney from the National Executive Committee of the PCS Union. We represent civil servants and many workers in the commercial sector. But I really think it's very important that PCS stands in solidarity with all the other campaign groups in this movement called the Big One. It's important that we reach out to all workers to give as much support in this and how we fight in our campaigns against climate change and the damage that has been done to the environment in this planet. And we have to prevent every form of potential extinction of this planet as much as we possibly can. It's so the workers, who are the backbone of the country's economy and also the world economy, we need to stand in solidarity to stop this from happening. We in the PCS Union, we have many departments that include the Department for Environmental, Rural and Food and Rural Affairs. We also include the Forestry Commission. Others are, of course, campaigns for energy and climate change. And it's important that it's where we specialise in this area, and particularly in energy, where we promote the interests of how we tackle climate change, how we fight against climate change, and prevent any extinction that could impact on our future generations, particularly all our families and our children. We need to look to the perfect example of the Lucas Plan back in 1976, where the workers were demanding a fairer, not only a fairer economy, but an economy that would be beneficial for the environment of this planet as well, where the workers were making key decisions in factories. That is what we want to promote. Also, in actual fact, we want to ensure that we have far better strike laws. So that means we're demanding the repeal of as many anti-union laws as possible, the right to go on strike, to protest against what these greedy employers, multinational companies and these uncompromising governments are doing, the damage to our environment, the damage to our planet, the impact it's having on workers. we need to have that right to go more on strike and to demand far greener jobs as well, and a far more sustainable environment for the future. So that is what we, in actual fact, demand in PCS. We vociferate very clearly within every TUC conference that we will oppose defence spending. We will also oppose any expansion of the nuclear industry and also any expansion of the gas industry as well. This is important that workers stand together to protect the climate of our country, of our planet, and to ensure that we resist climate change as much as we possibly can. I would like to say solidarity, let's all stand together and let's really take the government to task on what we intend to do.
Thank you so much, everyone. Really excited to see you at the big one. We're going to stop recording now.